Okay, North Whidbey Park and Rec District, special meeting Thursday, May 12th is called to order at 6:30 p.m. Roll call of officers. Commissioner Shingleton.
Present.
Commissioner Hawley.
Yo.
Commissioner Ford. Present. And Commissioner Hoffmeyer is absent. So tonight's topic is discuss the process and schedule for the executive director's 6-month evaluation. And Commissioner Hoffmeyer is present. And this is done under Performance of Public Employee RCW 42.30.1101G. Actually, that's executive. I didn't need to read that.
Because we're not going into executive
We're not going into
session.
executive session, so I apologize for reading that.
It's okay, but now we have it for later.
We did get this.
Excellent.
This is cool.
Fantastic.
Before we get into discussing the process and stuff like that, there is some stuff that I did find out. I talked with our insurance adjuster, Bruce, I don't remember his last name. Ron. And I talked with Steve Powers, who is the planning director for the city. And I also talked with Jim Campbell, who is a city council person. As far as meeting an executive session in order to discuss the evaluation, the evaluation marks and make a vote on them is illegal. There is no voting that happens in executive session at all. None. So we cannot do it that way.
Well, we can't vote and we can't reach decisions, is what you're basically saying.
Correct.
Okay.
And also, real quick before you go any further, and also as far as, I know one of the things that we were going to talk about was like the 20-hour executive leave. That cannot be voted on in executive session. That has to be public. If there's any voting of any kind, so benefits.
But we can discuss it.
We can discuss it. So it doesn't tell you there.
Okay.
And it's really vague what it says, in all honesty. This is straight from them is what they told me. And so basically, with benefits and stuff like that, we can discuss that. We can discuss that. When it goes to voting on benefits to give, we have to do that in public.
That makes sense.
And so as far as marks, we can sit there. Again, we can't vote on anything. The recommendation they had, and even, well, matter of fact, before I go there, even it drew a bunch of people rolling their eyes, even when I discussed how we did it the last time, where we all got together and went over the evaluation. He said, you got to be very careful there, because again, it can lead to people agreeing. And it doesn't have to be an official roll call of voting. It can just people agreeing to something can be held in violation of the OPMA. So the recommendation that was given by all three of them was to do the evaluation separately, turn it in, give it to one person, have that one person compile it, and then sit there and do the debrief with the executive director from that compiled evaluation.
Which is how we did it last time.
The only difference was we all got together, and that was frowned upon.
Well, actually, I think two things though. That one of them is it was compiled, but it was never. I never got to see what you wrote, and you didn't get to see what I wrote.
Exactly.
And that, but yet it is all public. In the end, it's all public anyway, because he reports to a board. His evaluation is public at the end of the day. But so the thing that the thing about kind of bringing this process up for review of the process was, let's say, for example, Commissioner Hawley says, I think he's very responsive to whatever. He's very responsive. And let's say my feedback was, I don't find him to be responsive at all. My problem, I don't find him to be, but my problem with that is then if we just compile it, we haven't given him sufficient direction about what to fix. And so I think somewhere we have to synthesize that information, because otherwise and this is, he hasn't experienced this yet, but we have heard that many times, even in the short time that I have been involved with and paying attention to this district, that feedback comes back over and over again, is this from this board. And then I think the attempt is, how do we not do that, right? Whatever the right process is.
No, I understand that, but
we
again,
have to
you're right.
find a way to do
The
it.
right process.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And what that is exactly, again, I don't have, I'm not going to tell you I have a clear, defined way to do this. I don't. I couldn't get that. But I know the one thing that I think we need to do later on is get a committee together to discuss that.
Well, I think we're trying to do that. That's what this is.
I'm still talking about further, define it further, review it further is all I'm talking about. We may not have the time now is all I'm talking about. There may be other ways. I'm mumbling, aren't I?
No,
I like that look of Gibby, like.
no, I'm just trying to imagine the best way to do this, because I honestly think Commissioner Singleton is completely correct that I sat on boards in the Navy where we talked about people, and you came to a consensus about an applicant for a job, or when we were grading, trying to figure out who the number one lieutenant was, and it's like, and everyone had this is my favorite guy, this is my favorite gal, and you talked it out, and you came to a consensus, and that to me is the best way to do it, so that we can, in the end, come up with, here's the consensus on how we think you're doing, and where we want you to improve, your strongest areas, where we want you to go, from here. And I think each of us coming up with an individual thing is not going to do it. It's not where we need to be. But I also don't think it needs to be.
If we're reaching a consensus again, it has to be
I know that,
public.
but
That's all I'm saying.
and I don't think having this discussion in public, because that's one of the reasons that they have executive sessions, is so that you don't discuss this stuff in public, because it's can be disadvantageous. And I'm not saying we need to hide it from the public, but it's not
you're
a
right.
good way to run a railroad. It's just not.
I completely agree with you. But again, we cannot sit there and do an executive session where we're going to reach any kind of consensus.
Then what was to circle back to, you were reading the RCW related to executive sessions.
The only thing it really says here, and the other government body that I was thinking about, and I didn't get a chance to talk to them, would be the school board. Because they do the superintendent. I didn't get a chance to talk to them. That may have been, that may be the only one that's actually, that would relate to how we can do it.
That's a great idea.
Because the city, as far as with the, what's his name, the city administrator, he is under he's hired by the mayor. He serves at the pleasure of the mayor. And as far as,
So the mayor's the only one that writes his review?
yes. And, as far as even the city council, they really don't have any input on that in any way. As far as evaluation, process.
And so what was
But anyway, what this here says, the qualifications of an applicant for public employment are review of performance of a public employee. If the governing body elects to take final action regarding hiring, setting the salary of an individual employee or class of employees, or discharging or disciplining an employee, that action must be taken in open session. That's all it says in here. But again, there's nothing I could find that really.
I think you are dead on with the school board idea, because it is the entity that is most similar to this. I think that's a great idea. I realize that might kind of put us behind in this process, but I think you're right. And hopefully their response isn't, boy, we have a really big problem with that.
And the thing is, and everybody pretty much said, we're not an attorney, talk to your attorney. I don't want to spend $300-600 to talk to an attorney.
Right.
Yeah, if we have to, I mean, we will, but I don't want to incur that cost.
I've got a few thoughts here. First of all, we're not going to reach a consensus. I don't think it's going to happen. But I think that's a good thing. You know, I think, look, if you look, you know, we all represent different portions of the voters, of the taxpayers. So I think that's a good thing. You know, I think there's 5 of us, each of us get 1 vote, each of us get 5 points per category. So numerically, there's really no reason that we have to reach a consensus. You know, if there's out of 25 potential points in each category, I guess at the end of the day, maybe it's the director's job to compile those and do some simple math and be like, well, I at least got the support of 4 commissioners here, or et cetera. You know, furthermore, I know one of my number 1 self-stated goals was to not get us sued. And when we're talking employment law, you know, there's always the potential for litigation, not knowing how things are going to go now or down the road. So I do think it may be worthwhile to have a few questions answered by the lawyer. You know, maybe $600 now saves $60,000 down the road. Especially when you get into the contract, it's not even clear to me, you know. So often there's probationary periods with almost all jobs that quite typically it's widely accepted that a 6-month evaluation period is a probationary period. So that's not even clear to me. So I would like the lawyer that approved of the contract, I would like to know what he was thinking in certain areas, such as what the definition of a 6-month evaluation period is even. So.
But if I may, I understand that why you might question what it is, but I'm not sure at this point. It's a signed contract. You know, it's executed. So I understand that, but it is what it is.
I understand that. I'm just saying I would like to hear from the lawyer that approved of that contract what he took it to
Actually,
mean.
that wrote it.
Yes, I would like, so that wrote it, so there you go. I would like to know what he took some of those words to mean.
Is the contract online? I've never seen it.
It's not
Probably
online,
not.
but the executive director would have a copy of
Is
it.
it voluminous?
No.
It's just,
4 or 5 pages.
Could we
And
get a copy of that?
when we're talking legal law, you know.
real quick
yes.
before you go any further, the one thing is, I was on the board at that time. There was not a probationary period. What it was is to sit there and discuss the items that he came up with as far as what he wanted.
Yeah.
And in 6 months for us to review that, to sit there and see which ones we could or could not do. And one of them in specific was the 20-hour executive leave, which was the number 1 thing that we would sit there, that we would meet and discuss for that time. That's what it was. There was no probationary period.
And I take it your word there. I have a hard time believing that the lawyer would have intended it any other way than probationary.
But
and it probably doesn't make a difference anyway, obviously. But you know, when you're looking at lawyers and the way they write stuff, the word "is" doesn't even have a simple definition.
Well,
so I guess
again-
I would like to hear from him where he is
If
at.
the board wants to sit there and vote on that, then I will sit there and do it, but I'm not going to do it on my own to have him come over.
I'm with you. I don't want to spend the money. I think we're big enough we can do it.
Right now, not having the contract in front, I'm not sure I have any questions that I could ask him. But I wonder, you've read the contract, I guess.
Yeah.
And
Well,
so,
and
what
I-
questions do you have?
what the contract even means exactly. And, you know, listening to Cecil say that he's talked to people that specialize in this field that think we've erred in the past, I would hate to err again and recognize that without legal guidance, it's going to be
I
very
mean,
possible to
specific
make an error.
questions that you have.
You know, starting out with,
Can
is
we
it
get
probationary
back to
or
the actual
evaluation?
topic?
Yeah, but
Sorry.
matter of fact, I'm
Well,
sorry.
I thought we were
It's
gonna-
okay, we're off topic
We're
now.
going to ask about whether we're going to get a lawyer, and it's
No, that's off topic. You're absolutely correct. That
Sorry.
is off topic.
But I did hear, and I didn't write it down actually, but I did hear an action item. Could you forward Commissioner Ford a copy? It sounds like everyone else, I know I have one, A copy of the
Please, thank you.
employment contract.
I got one
Thank
more
you.
thing then. I don't find it off topic when the agenda is one sentence, discuss the process and schedule for executive director's 6-month evaluation. I'm merely asking what that evaluation period is and what the lawyer intended when he wrote that. It's not off topic at all. You might not agree with it, but it's not off topic.
Actually, when you get into what are the other questions you have about the contract, I personally think it is. I think it is off topic because we're talking about a process right now.
That was,
I realize we disagree about that.
when Commissioner Fort asked that, that was the only question that I said I had though, in regards to.
Okay, then
Okay,
we were done.
okay, let's move on.
Sorry.
And I being the one to sit there and hate to suggest this because I hate meetings, especially adding meetings on to additional ones, is we table this meeting at this point. I will sit there and make a phone call to see if I can meet with the school board or the school board next week.
Do you, I have some time tomorrow. Do
Can
want me
you
to
do
try-
that?
Let me, because I have more free time than you.
And I greatly appreciate that.
No problem.
But
I will try and do it tomorrow.
And again, so we can sit there and find out another process on how they do it. If we want to go with an attorney, I mean, like I said, I got no problem with that.
I do.
But before we do, I want us to sit there and make sure we go through as much of the process ourselves before we do that, before we incur any kind of additional cost to the district. That's my personal feeling.
With the understanding that anything we write down in a public meeting is a public record, and
I didn't say it wasn't.
so it might be that we write something down that our lawyer would have told us not to. That could cause
Okay.
problems down the road.
Thank you very much. Okay. So the next the next part of this here is schedule. When do we want to schedule the next meeting to discuss what hopefully we will get an answer with tomorrow or early next week? I'd like to give at least 4 or 5 days, so it gives you plenty of time in case they're busy tomorrow. And we have a meeting next Thursday, so don't forget that. So do we want to meet before then, or do we want to meet the following week? You were going on vacations.
No, it's not vacation because I don't work, it's a travel, but I'm not going to South Dakota this summer.
So the following week, are you free?
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Please.
If I may, is there opportunity, I'll admit I haven't looked at the agenda for next Thursday's meeting, but could we add it
We
then?
can do that too.
If
I think we can, and so.
That would
there's
take
not a
away
lot-
one
there's-
meeting.
There's not a lot on the agenda, so
No, there's
the
not.
normal stuff.
So if everybody is in agreement with that, let's have it, or we'll add it to the agenda for next week, for next Thursday. That way, that takes away, and that hopefully will give enough time.
Yeah.
And she's basically going to look up or discuss with somebody how they do.
The school
their-
board.
Yeah.
How the school board does its evaluation of the principal or something.
The superintendent.
Superintendent. Yeah.
Okay.
Because and again, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the school board is the one that does the reviews for the superintendent.
I
If
think so.
not, then.
I'll try
you
and
know,
find some similar thing where it's a board of people that have to do one person.
Public.
And I would guess it's the superintendent.
As a matter of fact, I would like to have that opened up more, so it's not just the school board, but it's other places. So if they can't do it, somebody else.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, you're right. No, good point.
is there any other discussions on the 6-month evaluation and scheduling of the process and scheduling of this here until next Thursday?
I move we table this item and adjourn.
Okay, motion is made to table and adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion, all opposed? Okay. Okay, one abstain, motion passes. Commissioner Hoffmeyer is abstained. Thanks, everybody.
I stand corrected. It can be less than half an hour.
Yeah.